Hey everyone, Graph Paper Architect here, and we're going to talk a little bit about designing dungeons. This thought came from this particular article that popped up on my feed that talks about a new random D&D dungeon creator in Roll20. Roll20, cool tool. That's good stuff. I'll go ahead and read this real quickly here. It says that this 0% AI random D&D dungeon creator is a breath of fresh procedural air. So procedurally generated, meaning, completely random, assuming. Quick and easy dungeon scroll mapping tool gets a handy upgrade for short notice game prep. So how do you feel about this? Leave me a comment. Let me know. What do you think about this sort of thing? Do you think that, people say, hey, guess what? The other party fell through, so now we all want to play D&D. We're going to come over to your house tomorrow and play D&D. Is that cool? Cool. Well, 5 of us are going to be at your house tomorrow. So you're going, it's Thursday and I'm at work and I have nothing prepared, and oh my goodness, what am I going to do? I will now jump in here and click the buttons, mash the buttons until I get something, right? I mean, that's sort of the idea. Short gaming prep time. Okay. Anyhow, so what we're looking at here is we are looking at the creation of tools that we never had before, of course, obviously. And we've had random dungeon generators before, but now we can just come in and just boop. Oh, here's a dungeon. This one, maybe it's too round. Boop. Oh, I like this one. Oh, it's kind of squarish and sort of this and that. Okay, cool. Here we go, right? And I don't know whether or not this tool actually includes things like monsters, treasure, other things, so it could just generate a map, and then you may need to populate it with your monsters and whatever else is going on. But it brings up a lot of thoughts for me, For me, whenever I am creating, first of all, I did a video about it. It was, what was your dungeon? So I like to start off with trying to create something that is realistic in a way that it was what it was before it was a dungeon. Of course you can have the real fun He-Man episode where the maniacal wizard is like, I will make the ultimate dungeon and I will make the adventurers go and try not to die. See if you can get through it, running man. Yeah. That's kind of fun. We did that. But really for me, what I like to do is I will build something. And even just thinking about the logistics of building is sort of an idea when you're creating a dungeon, whatever your dungeon is. Is it a labyrinth like this? Is it, built into a mountain? Is it built underground? Is it above ground? Was it a town? Was it, what was it, right? Before it was built. And a lot of these are mazes. A lot of these are, underground, cavernous sort of situations. And, why? Why does anybody look at a mountain and say, oh, we're going to build into that mountain, right? Well, because you could maybe mine all the gold and mithril out of it, and then you end up with a dwarven fortress that is now a dungeon because they decided, well, we've mined everything we need and we're out. We're done, right? Or you have another underground situation. You have, let's say, the classic wizard or duke, duke or baron or duchess or king or whatever, somebody with money, right? Because if you're building a labyrinth and you're not John Rambo, you are probably going to have a crew come in and build this labyrinth, and you're going to need some bucks, right, to get that kind of thing done. Then why are you deciding to make an underground labyrinth chamber thing? What's going on? What's the backstory for what that dungeon is? Why is it there? And for me, if you need to use this kind of a tool, that's fine. I don't see any reason why not. But then you have to take some time to flavor it, right? You gotta have some time. Why is this dungeon the way it is, or what's going on? In these procedural dungeons, I'm sure are kind of cool, and it's always nice to just draw out whatever, but thinking about the logistics of it, when I consider it as far as what it was before it was a dungeon, why is this room a square? Why is this room a rectangle? Why is this room hexagonal? Why does this other room have, specific architectural design structures? Was it a temple? Was it the place where the sacrifices happened? What's going on? Was it somewhere that somebody lived? Is another great question when you're designing a dungeon. Did people live there? Did people just go there to do their sacrifice and leave? Or did they go there to live there? Did they have to have, plumbing and toilets and a kitchen and where they kept their food and how they defended it while they lived there? There's lots and lots of things that you can consider when you're designing a space that then becomes a dungeon or just a dungeon. And just this, it's fine. If you were just going to rando one shot something, it would be I think it would be cool if you, made it something more than just a random thing. So, you know what? I'm going to take a drink of coffee. I told myself I wouldn't, but. All right, folks. That's right. This is Tabletop Thoughts. I'm trying to do this uncut, give you 15 minutes of just whatever. Tabletop Thoughts. Boom. So sometimes it's raw. And the places where I was going with this is a little bit of the dark side for this to me is that I think that, these kind of tools are fine, but coming from the generation where we didn't have this kind of stuff and we didn't have digital tools and we had to read paper maps and we had to memorize phone numbers. Yes, I know I'm on the Gen X soapbox. You guys, don't tune out if you're not one of us. Just listen. The thing about it is that there's an old axiom: if you don't use it, you lose it. If you took your arm and you tied it to your body and you left it there long enough, your arm's going to shrivel up and fall off. Same kind of thing goes for what's up in here, okay? If you're trying to design something and you want to come up with something, random tools are cool and it's kind of neat to be able to push buttons and make stuff. But what I would use this as is use it and then get ideas from it and then grab some paper, grab some graph paper, aha, that's my name, and make it yourself. Use your mind. Start stretching out into why. Again, use the W's. What, where, when, why, who? Why are these monsters in this dungeon? What was this dungeon before? When was this dungeon something else? When did it become a dungeon? What are these rooms for? Every time that you go into a new space, what was this for? You draw. You're like, oh, this is so cool. And you get into the flow and you draw something. Why did I draw that? What is that? What is that room for? Oh, the altar could go here. Or maybe you put the secret door here. You put some treasure in here. Well, why? Okay, cool. And begin to stretch your mind. Use your mind, because using tools like this and just plopping stuff out, you're softening your creative ability, in my opinion. You're using something as just like, oh, I didn't know where I'm going. Boop. Tell me where to go, magic box. I will follow you anywhere. Don't need to think. Just go and follow along. Don't do it. Don't do it. Make something, Jaquays Your Dungeon. Look that up. Janelle Jaquays. Some wonderful stuff she did. And think about why the dungeon is, where the dungeon is, what the dungeon was. And, populate it from there and go from there. And I don't mean that you need to really honestly take 2 hours a night to try to design something, oh my God, for forever and ever. And then Saturday night comes along and they pop out of it in, 15 minutes, blow through it or something, when you spent 10 hours contemplating every brick and the color of the dungeon curtains and why the rug was round. And, I wouldn't go that far into the minor details, but maybe a few other things. Ecologies of dungeons is another great thing that I like to use. A lot of people will have dungeons and they'll go, okay, they've played lots of video games and start off with kobolds in the front, dragons in the back. And then you just sort of step it up as you go along. No, No. Don't do that. Have an ecology in the dungeon. Why these other monsters live? Because basically, it is a monster apartment complex, right? Monster apartment complex. And you've got the Minotaur couple over here in this room, and then they stay up late, running around 5, 10, 11, 12 o'clock at night. And then you've got the mind flayers down below, and they're banging on the ceiling. Just shut up there. We're trying to freaking sleep. We just put the kid down, and yeah, he ate like 4 gnomes, and now you're waking everybody up. What's going on? And I know I'm making a joke, but really, if you think about it, if you have different kinds of monsters all living in the same space, they're going to have their own kind of relationships. They're going to have their own kind of, all the kobolds may be living in Kobold Corner, and they go, okay, well, when you get to this place here and you smell the green moss instead of the red moss, stop. Don't go in there. Why? Oh, because the ogres live down that way, and if you go down that way, those ogres are going to use you as a pudding pop, and you're not going to come back, little kobold. So they tell each other, okay, we stay here and we don't go down there. It's a great way for the role playing as well. If you decide to have semi-intelligent monsters that you want to have parlay with, and you grab one of these little kobolds and go, "Where's the treasure? Where is it?" You become Batman. That's the thing I remember about Batman. I'll go down a little rabbit hole. When did Batman become just somebody who needed to know where something is? Like every new Batman, he's like, "Where is it? Where is it? Where's the bomb? Where's the thing? Where?" He just doesn't know where anything is. He's Batman. He's supposed to be a detective. Figure it out. Where is it? Right? But if you're in the dungeon, capture a monster and you tell me if there's anything else in here. Tell me where the evil wizard lives. Tell me what's going on. Maybe I'll set you free if you freaking rat out your people. Maybe they do know. Maybe they're like, oh yeah, well, the Drugar are down that way, and the Mind Flayers are over there, and the Minotaurs are upstairs, and they make a noise all night, and all this stuff's going on. Have some fun with it. Make something fun and enjoyable, but also believable. You would have, if you just sprinkle monsters in places, for one, you got to kind of think about how they got in there. If you put an ogre in the furthest room in, and you're traveling through 8-foot ceilings and hallways on the way in there, so this ogre then got down and creepy crawled through the tunnel. I'm going to crawl down into this hole, and then I'm going to crawl through this little door, and I'm going to smush myself into this room, and now I'm in this big room. So it's a big room, but that's great, and now I'm an ogre just in a big room. I put a little bit more thought on where I'm blurry. That's great. Come on, autofocus. Do your thing. Put a little bit more thought into where the critters are and why the critters are and what's going on in there. And, another thing I like to have in there is I also like to put in a few graves, other adventurers that were there before. Maybe that's a source of treasure. And you come across a room and you find some bodies. Anyhow, lots and lots of thoughts about dungeons. I could go on forever about dungeons, but my point being is that, that's kind of a cool tool, I think. But to my way of thinking, when you are designing something, I think putting just a little bit more thought into just random and flavor. Meh, whatever. Yeah, we went in, we killed the monsters. So what? But what if it's a temple that has then been taken over by the lizard men because it was abandoned, and now the lizard people live in this temple and they've corrupted it, and they're coming out from there. They're going out into the local towns and picking up people that are on the road at night because, well, they're hungry. And, there's a problem. And then when you get to the dungeon, this is why there's a problem, is because now these monsters have found a way to live here, and nobody knew it was here. No, it was an ancient ruin that everybody forgot, but now these critters have come in to inhabit it, and there's your problem. Simple, right? But it's a little bit more than just rando this, rando that. We're just about out of time. But the other things that I wanted to touch on was that just also to consider just the logistics of building a dungeon. If you're going to make a dungeon, how was it made and why? It was it's rando carvings, that sort of thing. Those are tabletop thoughts for this particular little chunk. If you want more than just our little jaunts down here, we're going to have Into the Labyrinth. That is our new series that's going to go even deeper into what's going on. More thoughts, more stuff coming. Be sure to check out a Tactical Fantasy Games website that's going to be coming soon, and we'll have even more going on. So until next time, friends, good journey. I used the wrong hand again. Good journey.